everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts, Wrestling Chris G, and on the other line with me is my fire brother himself. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
What does that mean?
I have no idea. I was hoping you would roll with the punches on that one.
I was prepared to. I'm gonna start making you show your work on me.
but um but not only is Doug on the show today, but we have our premium Patreon subscriber. His name is Grant, and he is joining us on the show today. Grant, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're great. It's a nice cold day out here in
Oh, I
Illinois.
know. I'm up in Minnesota. Like, yeah.
Oh
Oh,
man.
so you're not doing any better.
No, it's been negatives all day.
Oh boy.
I will tell you one thing. So in our home, so we just remodeled our whole basement, and we are putting up all of our walls. We got all of them put up and painted and everything. And we actually hid some pipes that were downstairs with drywall, and we put it all around. Come to find out, 2 days ago, one of our water pipes froze. So we
Oh
and
no.
we had,
Oh
and we
no.
had no access to the pipe, and this pipe went to our shower and our bathtub upstairs. But all the other pipes in the freaking house were perfectly fine, but those freaking froze. So what I did to kind of thaw it out, I just pumped the heat up in the house. I knew exactly where that pipe was. So I put a heater up against that wall, and within hours we were back up and running. But man, when you think you're about to go and take a nice hot shower and come to find out you can't, I was like, son of a
Oh,
bitch.
Boy.
been there.
So, but yeah, as I was saying, you are one of our premium Patreon subscribers who subscribed on Patreon to become a guest on our show, and kind of tell us about yourself, Grant. What's your
Uh,
background, and how did you get into Pokemon?
well, I mean, I grew up with Pokemon. Like, I mean, I was a little younger, so my main one was like Ruby and Sapphire. But like, I still watched the show as a kid. Didn't understand it, and now I do understand it. Um, I mean, yeah, it's just I mean, I know a lot about Pokemon. Like, uh, I think about all sorts of different like theories and stuff, and I just kind of think about it all day because my job, I am a delivery guy. I deliver boxes house to house, so
Okay.
there's a lot of driving, a lot of radio time, so nothing to do but listen and think. So yeah.
That's kind of how I am. I'm out. I work out on the field, and I do a lot of driving myself. So I tend to listen to a lot of people talking because the
Oh yeah.
regular radio seems to get a pretty repetitive once you once you hit a certain
Oh,
amount of hours. So
where I deliver, there's like 6 radio stations, and like the good one's the classical one.
gotcha.
So so
All right, but okay. Well, thanks for like I said, thanks for being a Patreon. Doug, on your end, how are you doing? We're recording about peek behind the curtain. We're recording this on a Sunday, so we have football today, and our lovely Bears. I know you probably don't want to talk about it. Took a shit today, Doug.
Yeah. I mean, if you stopped watching after the first half, you were satisfied. But unfortunately, played two halves in football, and I think the Bears forgot that. So I'm just happy that the season's over. There's going to be massive overhaul. At the very least, at the head coach position, there's conflicting reports whether the GM is safe. Um, Obviously, because of our trade up during last year's draft, we don't have a first round pick this year. So, that's fine. I mean, at least, we've got the quarterback figured out. Um, just got to make sure he's protected. So hopefully offensive line is addressed in the offseason as well as receiver. Because no matter how protected he is, if he doesn't have anybody to throw to. So yeah, just kind of waiting around to see how long they're going to wait until they make the inevitable decision. Probably this upcoming Monday. I mean, I do enjoy this time of year because I get to sit back and watch the watch the playoff games and not have to have a heart attack at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's wonderful. Um, and now I can shift my focus mostly to the Bulls, who have been on fire.
Yeah, for one.
And so yeah, it's kind of bittersweet, but change is good. I have learned, and
Yes, it is.
I can be stupidly optimistic for a while.
All right. So that's
Probably
yours.
shouldn't-
What'd you say, Grant?
I probably shouldn't tell you who I root for. So
Who do you
Well,
root for?
I'm assuming you're up in Minnesota, so you probably had a more enjoyable Sunday afternoon than I did.
I mean, Green Bay all the way.
Oh, that's even worse. How are you in Minnesota and you're a Green Bay fan? You must be getting all kinds of crap.
I go everywhere. So like, just like I live in Minnesota now, but I've lived in like 5 different states. Parents
I
from 2
see.
different states. Like, so yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, my brother and it's funny because my family's kind of split. So well, and I consider Doug like family. Doug he's a full-blown Cubs fan, Bears fan. My family with my wife, they're full blown Sox fans, so it's funny to listen to them bicker back and forth. But my brother-in-law and my father-in-law are Packers fans, like full
Ah,
blown Packers fans. They're not even um, Bears fans out here, so it's just they're having a better season than we we are out here. So. But all right, Doug, my man, you ready to get on into our dates?
I am ready. I am ready, and all I'm going to say, without exposing our business, is thank goodness for our little um, pre-production phone call, because otherwise you would have doubled up on yourself.
Yes, I would have because I didn't realize we've done this date already. But so today's episode is episode 76, and it's called All Fired Up, or translated from Japanese, Fire the Pokemon League opening ceremony. So we're finally fucking here. We're finally in the Pokemon League after all these filler episodes.
Well, almost.
We're almost. But
almost.
but Jesus, it feels good to be out of some of those um filler episodes. It was getting brutal going through some of those. But yes, this episode premiered in Japan December 10th, 1998, and here in the States, October 23rd, 1999. And we're going, of course, with the US date. And I was gonna go ahead and do the Dumbo one, but I didn't realize that I did that with the Bridge Biker Gang. So that was scratched. So Doug, you're going first this week.
I might not be, because I did the 21st, so I'm scrambling here. Not major panic because I think I know if it is the 23rd,
Yes, it is.
and I'm not too concerned.
All right.
So
I
gonna
will
go
go first.
ahead. I'm gonna say because I think mine is later than that anyway.
Okay. Well, for mine, October 23rd in 1998, I'm going to go music this week because not too much else really happened on this day, but Britney Spears released her debut single "Baby One More Time" on this day. And even you can be a Britney Spears fan or you can not be a Britney Spears fan. I tend to like old Britney more than new Britney. So but yeah, this was when she debuted and it was her very first single that she came out with. So yeah, that I mean, there's not really much else to really go on when it comes to her very first single. I mean, she went on to winning a whole bunch of awards and come to find out she was in some type of weird conservatorship, which where I'm not even going to go all into because there's way too much into that. But there was a whole Free Britney movement apparently this past year back in 2020,
Yeah.
and she's free now. So so yeah, Doug.
Okay, so after a minor bit of googling, because I could have sworn it said the 21st, um, I found out that in 2015, on this day, Adele's song "Hello" becomes the first song with more than 1 million, that's million with an M, downloads in its first week, and it capped out at 11 million downloads.
Holy crap. You know, it's really weird when it comes to music because I wonder how these artists get paid when it comes to downloads these days. Because you can download a song absolutely free or listen to something on YouTube, but how is the payout? I wonder if the payout is kind of similar to the way that podcasts are downloaded. And when it comes to ad revenue, I'm gonna have to look that up. Do you know anything about that, Doug?
Offhand, no. I mean, there has to be some kind of a deal that they have to reach with Spotify to get the music in the first. And I'm just going with Spotify in specifics because that's kind of the most um used. I mean, I think Apple Music has kind of fallen off a little bit.
Yes.
Same with Pandora. So, I mean, yeah, I think you have to reach some kind of agreement to get your music on there in the first place. So that I would imagine would handle like the bulk of the situation.
Okay.
And then like I don't know if there's a thing where it's like capped, like you hit a certain number of plays, you get, this payout unlocked and then, so on and so forth or whatever.
Yeah,
But
I
I would
wonder.
imagine if you drop an album or something, the majority of your plays are going to come within that first week.
Yeah, I mean that's typically how it goes, unless you come out with a banger of a single and people that downloaded the album or that just want that one single or want to support it, then it gets um freaking million plays on YouTube like most artists do these days. So all right. Well, Grant, do you have anything to add right before we jump up into this week's episode?
Well, I say like I know I read something on the October 23rd. It was like on 1915. There was like a women's march movement, so they could vote. That was like a pretty big, significant one. So
Oh,
that's a
okay.
thing.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for
Our
that.
guest
Yeah.
always coming in with the heavy hitters. Our guest. We have one guest. We had one guest. We did ours, and the guest, and kind of like he just did with you. He's like, do you have anything to add? And I'm not naming anybody specifically because I don't remember what episode it was. But he's like, oh, prohibition ended on this day. And we're like, son of a gun.
There was quite a few things that happened on the 23rd. A lot of them being massacres, but yeah.
I was trying to stay away from those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying.
Yeah. I saw a lot of negative things. Like when we go over our dates, you have no idea when we're doing our dates and there's a lot of negative stuff on a specific date, we'll be like, okay, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So and so went to jail because of that. Okay, we're not doing that. So we try to find something happy, but yeah, and yours with the movement so women can vote, that is huge. So
big
Yeah.
So
time.
so thank you for that, Grant.
No
All
problem.
right. So here we go. All right, I am firing up the episode. Doug, do you have the episode fired up?
I do.
All right.
Are you're not trying to be funny, are you?
No, no. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have the episode fired up, Grant?
Yes.
All right, so let's go on in. I will start it off and I will signal to everybody so everybody gets a good saying for this episode. So we start this week's episode with the narrator introducing us that Ash is finally here at the Indigo Plateau, the home of the Pokemon League. So he is walking up and he is determined. Ash can't he can't really compose himself. He's just walking and he scares the mess out of Misty, Togepi, Brock, and Pikachu, and he just bursts up and he's like, ah! And Misty's like, Ash, are you crazy? And I felt so bad because they made Togepi such a lovable character in this moment because Togepi just started bawling as soon as he yelled, and I was like, "Oh, you forget Togepi's just a little baby." But Grant, you want to speak on this?
I mean, yeah, he's just Ash is pretty excited, for finally making it, even though he didn't, train at all.
No,
So
not at all. But yeah, he goes in and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm just so excited. I'm going to explode." But I'm here and I'm ready to go into this Pokemon League. And he's just walking walking through. Doug, you want to go over this next part?
So yeah, he has to apologize for himself, and basically, Brock and Misty are kind of conflicted because they haven't seen, I would say, focused Ash in a while. I mean, obviously, we just got through the slog of the freaking other episodes, and obviously,
He hasn't
there
he hasn't been focused at all.
he's been surfing and doing movie shoots and whatnot. So they're like, oh, he can focus when he wants to be, and and Brock is basically like, oh, wait until he gets in the competition. That'll kind of be a wake up call, not like in a bad way, but he's like, that'll kind of let him refocus, and then we get the title card.
Yes, we do. And then after the title card, Grant, I was hoping to save this part for you because this part was just hilarious. You want to go over Ash walking up and seeing all of the people that are surrounding the streets?
yeah, so like all these people are standing around waiting for something, and like Ash just kind of walks up and like he's curious on what's going on, and he's like, "Hey, are they cheering for me?" And they start cheering, but it's kind of like, "Oh no, I was waving at the other guy." And they all run to this like parade, and off in the distance we see a man in a Hitmonchan running with a torch, and we don't know who this guy is.
Yes.
We
Brock
never
says
find
it's
out.
no,
No,
unimportant.
not at all.
Even though, so they keep running. Officer Ginny's there, and Ash just gets the cojones to just stop the parade for no reason at all, just pure curiosity, and just starts begging to this dude like a child. You know.
So and also at this moment, we find out that the torch itself is lit by none other than Moltres, the legendary bird Pokemon, the one of three at this time, excluding Ho-Oh that we've seen, but we don't know who Ho-Oh is yet. So he takes out good old Dexter, and Dexter says that the flame symbolizes the Pokemon League competitions. and that the flame stays lit for the entirety, night in or day in and day out, on top of the Indigo Plateau, and that every year Moltres comes and lights the torch and then basically flies away. So, Doug, you want to go over this next part?
So, Ash then immediately goes into overzealous trainer mode and says, "Well, one day I'm gonna find a Moltres and I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna train it to be the best because I'm gonna be the best." And then Misty just immediately takes his knees out and goes, "Oh, just like you trained Charizard." And he falls over, and Pikachu has to grab onto Brock to avoid the humiliation as well. And
We
what
haven't
a
seen Charizard in almost a month in this anime.
that feels right.
I don't
Yeah,
think we've seen pretty much any of them other than Pikachu. Occasionally, maybe Bulbasaur and Squirtle, but like I don't
yeah.
think we've seen any of them.
No, we haven't, because he hasn't
Like I
trained.
mean, like he isn't even tried. I know at least Pikachu can like run a little bit and had to fight off Team Rocket occasionally, but you know the
the
rest of them are kind of SOL.
Swiss
Yeah,
Army knives, basically.
and
Yeah,
and it's pretty weird. And I'm kind of fast forwarding just a little bit in the future episodes. Like we're gonna end up seeing in the Pokemon League, we're gonna see Pokemon like Kingler or King. Yeah, we're gonna see Krabby. We're gonna see Tauros, and he
Muck.
yeah, we're gonna see Muck, and he has not trained any of these Pokemon like at all. These have not been his 5 or 6 Pokemon that's been on his belt, because
He's
periodic.
allergic. He's allergic to carrying six. We've established that.
Does not have the sixth sense.
No, he does not. But
Does not have exactly not. He does not.
so as you were saying, Grant, Ash runs up and he just stops the whole parade, just out of nowhere, and just walks up to No Name Man, and he's like, I'll take the torch here for you. And freaking Officer Jenny just runs up blowing her whistle, and she's like, only approved competitors are allowed to carry that flame. You're not allowed to carry that flame. What makes you think that you can go ahead and carry it? And he's like, Officer Jenny, don't you know me? And she's like, no, I don't know you. And he's like, you might not know us, but we sure know you, Broncos, with his little perverted butt. Grant, you want to take it from here?
Yeah. So like Ash or Brock does his like gives Ash a noogie. He's like, hey, this guy's right here, and then Ginny's like, only their competitors can carry the torch, which is very important to note later on.
Yes.
Yes.
And like Brock or Ash shows his badges. He's like, yo, I can carry that torch. I'm pretty good at holding sticks, and so he's like trying to get Ginny to concede here, and then we get the old guy here, Good Show, and he just kind of he's saying, hey, we'll just stretch the rules here because I'm in charge. And then he falls and he gets called Santa Claus. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Ash's dumb
That was a
butt.
good. He just with all sincerity looks at Officer Jenny and goes, "Is that Santa Claus?" And he just falls over.
And he
Right
should
off the
know
bus.
who Santa Claus is, because he saw the legit Santa Claus. Did Ash's mind get erased at the end of that episode? I forgot, Doug.
Well, that episode got banned, so it didn't count.
Yeah, true. Not everybody
Yeah.
saw that episode.
Yeah.
This is also true. Yeah.
So, all right, Doug, you wanna take it from here? Santa Claus just fell off the truck.
So we find out that his actual name is Charles Goodshow, which I was, um, and he's kind of um,
He's the
pardon me, he's the president of the Pokemon League Torch Committee,
yes.
and I was waiting for the freaking subtitle to catch up because I know he's the president of something, and he basically likes the cut of Ash's jib, and he's like, this kid has his spirit, and he embodies everything that the games are about. And I think we should let him, do it. And um, I mean, to be fair, and this is just me editorializing, he does fulfill the requirement of at least having the badges.
Yes.
So it's not like just some schmuck in a red 91 jersey is going to be carrying this torch in a couple minutes here anyway. Um, I made a big old note of that. But yeah, he's like, you kind of remind me of me at your age, and we could use somebody with your amount of spirit, and basically, oh, by the way, you're also the lead of the show. So we have a cut, and we see the guy that came into the scene carrying the torch transferring the flame to Ash's torch, and Ash has also had enough time to go through a complete wardrobe change.
Yeah, which was weird.
So I don't want to know the logistics of that.
Well, they
Because
do
they're
they do
they're
have an RV right there, so it probably was easy for him to just jump on in and change real quick.
With all the people around watching, of
Yes.
course.
yes.
Yes.
Well,
Because there's a huge crowd here.
he might be a bit of an
Patient.
exhibitionist.
Oh yeah.
So
And so yeah, Ash has the flame now, and Ash and Pikachu, you know, get ready to take off, and Ash looks at Pikachu without a sense of irony and says, "We're pretty lucky, aren't we?" And I'm sitting there going, "No shit."
you've been lucky this whole time, even getting some of your damn gym badges.
Yeah, but I would say about half of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so we go straight from that, and of course we end up getting Team Rocket and their
Oh,
big
wait a
old
minute. I didn't make note of this when I was watching it, but Ash, as he's going, he's like full on doing like a Madden celebration run. He's got one of his hands behind his head. And he's like, never mind that he could trip on a pebble and the whole thing could go to shit.
that's a good note, Doug. And you know how Pokemon loves their sports from previous episodes.
Oh, and Minnesota Vikings got a lovely shout out during the movie that there's no way that was actually in the movie. There's no way that was anything more than a dubbing.
Yes. That was not in the original cut. So Team Rocket comes up, and I thought that this was weird because not only do they come up, but they're in the sky and they're low enough to where every single person in the city can see their balloon because they're idiots. And and Meowth is like, man, this burns me up. Why
Ah,
get it? Um, why does he get to run with the torch? I mean, we can do just as good as a job as he can. And he's like, why don't we just go ahead and steal that torch? And Jessie looks over and she's like, that's a hot idea. Get it? Because
oh,
and they go, well, since we're in the Pokemon League as well, we can steal lots of Pokemon too. So, all right, let's go. So Ash continues to run. He has everyone following him. He has a pretty nice little jog going. I don't know who taught him how to run with a flame, but he has a nice little stiff jog going. Togepi is jumping up and down on top of the RV along with Brock and Misty just sitting back. And then they hear a sound, and then they're like, "What the hell is that?" And then out of nowhere, the ground starts to crack, and it just completely caves in, and everyone that was following Ash, Officer Jenny and the RV, just goes crashing into the ground. Grant, you want to take it from here?
Yeah. So they crash into the ground and no one's hurt because it's a kid show. Because normally that would just, if not kill, maim everybody.
Yes.
horribly. Like, I mean, that was a bus that literally just fell. Officer Ginny's like off on the side, like the bus is tipped over. You know, Misty and Good Show. Good Show is on top of Brock, and Misty's off in the corner, just lying on the ground. Like they didn't even move. Like it's not like they have seatbelts. They're just, they just managed to hang on there. And Ash is like, "Hey," and Misty's like, "Hey, can you get us out?" And he's like, "Well, how did this happen?" And then you got Jesse and James doing their motto, and they go through the motto.
Yeah, and from there, freaking me and Doug, I'm about to throw it over to you in just a second, but I just want to point out that for the first time, Meowth actually had a good plan. They're doing the motto. Meowth comes grasping right onto Ash and was just like, I'll take that, scratch, scratch, and just completely obliterates Ash's face, which ends up healing by the end of this episode. I just want to forewarn
I
everybody.
mean, it heals in like 30 seconds. Like,
I know. so
you know,
so Doug, you want to take it from here after Meowth grabs the torch from Ash?
Yeah, so he gets scratched, and Ash's initial reaction, and I guess fair play to him. I mean, I've never had my face full on scratched twice by a vicious cat. I mean, he throws the torch at Meowth, and Meowth has a good line of saying, "Oh, he's a regular flamethrower." Meowth catches the torch basically by the head of the flame, which then for some reason propels the flame outwards. I don't think that's how that works. Um, so Meowth
It's a
is
Moltres flame, Doug.
I don't care. So Meowth is fully on fire. Meowth throws the torch. Pikachu's there to get a fair catch. Um, freaking um, Meowth is running like crazy, running away from Team Rocket. Screaming, put me out, put me out, put me out. James calls out Victory Bell, who
It's
hands up.
dumb.
I completely forgot he had. Um,
But
Victory Bell just
out of
swallows
all
him up.
Pokemon though, of all Pokemon, you send out Victory Bell on a flaming Meowth? What an idiot. I'm sorry.
They
I
don't
That
mean, his
have they
only
don't
other
have
option,
they
yeah,
don't
his only
have
other
water
option would have been
Pokemon.
Wheezing.
Yeah, and that would have made it worse because that's gas.
Yeah.
well, I mean, Weezing could have done sludge attack. I mean, don't you think the sludge would have put out the flame, or would that have made it worse?
That made it worse because that's oil.
Oh, true. Okay.
So yeah, Victory Bell clamps down on Meowth, catches itself on fire because it's a grass type Pokemon. So it's all going to complete shit. So now Meowth is running around with Victory Bell on his head. Ash is basically all of us saying, "I'm gonna regret this." But he calls out Squirtle, and where the hell is Misty? By the way, I understand she's in a hole, but she could have thrown out one of her Pokemon.
Yeah,
Which shouldn't Officer Ginny immediately like call for backup here? Like clearly a bus has fallen into a hole. Your first initial reaction as a police officer would be to call for backup, right?
Right.
So why proving
yeah,
that Officer Ginny is not a very good police officer? She does terrible. Like
yeah,
where
for
is
real.
where is anybody at? Like it's just Ash here. There was a whole army of people.
Officer Jenny's like, we're only 7 minutes into this episode, so I can't call because the episode will be over if I arrest Team Rocket already.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, Squirtle comes out and does water gun, puts Team Rocket out. They look like a bunch of burnt marshmallows. Um, you know, Jesse is stretching me out and basically says, you and your little squirt toy might have saved our lives, but we're gonna get that flame
Lame-o,
and
lame-o.
the
yeah,
way
flamo lamo, yeah.
the way she stretched me out, by the way, just that was
Yeah, I know.
brutal.
That dude. Yeah, those
Me and
parts, man.
yeah, those ouch. For people that are not following along watching this episode, she literally grabbed Meowth's legs and stretched them to make Meowth do the splits, but to make him like do even more of the splits because she like just like stretched those legs out and then had enough nerve to go get out of here and just chucked him. I was like, ouch. So Meowth is off screen just icing himself. So that's where Meowth.
He's had a rough day already.
He's had a rough couple episodes. So, but yeah, Flamo Lamo. Doug.
Yeah, so that was Jesse's, or was that Jesse or James? That was James. And so basically Team Rocket says, "Oh, we're going to get the flame because it's valuable, and we can sell it. We can get all the Pokemon. We'll be fine. We can retire, whatever, standard Team Rocket bunk."
It's not a very good idea, to be honest. Like, as a criminal, like,
You're
or an
going
organization,
after
you're a grunt in an criminal organization. Like, I don't think Al Capone would be like, "Yo, get my goon to like ruin the Super Bowl here." Like, pretty sure like Giovanni would be kind of pissed off if he saw that.
I'm sure
It's on him for consistently sending out the C squad.
True, yeah.
I think Giovanni would be mad if he was sitting back in a chair just watching this all unfold. Like you're going after a flame. You're not even going after the Moltres. You're going after the flame of Moltres. What the hell is Giovanni going to do with the damn Moltres flame?
I don't know.
I have no idea. I guess he could try to work the equipment that he got Mewtwo out of and try to like reincarnate
he can get to that like stash of marshmallows he had for a couple years, trying to get them cooked.
And they're super stale as it is, so you're gonna need like a hot flame.
Yeah.
So it's at this point that after James gets fried from Pikachu, Ash grabs a hold of the flame again, but as he grabs hold of the flame, Jessie also grabs it and she's like, "Give it to me." And Ash is like, "Not on your life." So they sit there and they're fighting back and forth with this flame, and Jessie is just vigorous. And then out comes Squirtle, and Squirtle comes and just stretches Jessie's face. Like, the stretching in this episode is just brutal. Like, what the hell? But he literally pulls Jesse's mouth to where Jesse's almost doing the Joker like smile, just stretching the mess out of it. And she's like, "Meow, help!" And Meow jumps up. He's like, "I'm taking this torch." And then he starts tickling Ash. And from there, Ash lets go of the torch. Jessie throws Squirtle off of her.
Throws is a nice word. She body slammed the hell out of that Squirtle. Like, just, oof, that was brutal to watch.
Yeah, the brutality in this episode is just astounding. The stuff they put in old cartoons that they're too scared to put into these days. But just a wire drops down and James, Meowth, and Jessie all ride the ride the wire all the way back up to the Team Rocket balloon, and then they fly away. And Ash is pissed. Grant, you wanna take it from here?
So yeah, Ash is pissed. He's dejected. Falls to his knees. He's like, "Oh well, I've failed." But then good Goodyear guy, Santa Claus comes out. They all climb out of the hole just in time for everything to be done. And and Goodyear here is like, "Hey man, it's all good. We got a backup plan." And he goes and like the weirdest thing ever. He kind of starts like he's going to expose himself, and he's just got a lantern with a flame in it in his jacket, which
it was
is
so
just
weird.
it's a very weird scene. I don't know why that had to happen.
That would not have survived the crash in the hole.
No, not at all. If anything, they'd make it worse because now there's a fire. involved.
Yeah, good show's on fire now.
So it was just weird the way he did it. He's like, everything will be okay. And
And just
then
unzipped his shirt like, oh, ho, ho,
I got something to show you.
check
And
out
then
my OnlyFans.
Oh dear.
so from here he takes out the little tiny torch, and it's literally just a small little tiny torch with the Moltres flame that he says in case of emergency that they're still able to put the flame back in the at the Pokemon League. And he's like, I have this tucked away so I can relight the torch if it goes out. He's like, the Pokemon League is very close to my heart, so I keep this flame close to my heart too. I wonder what
I
else
like that.
you like that, Doug?
That was a good line. I like that.
So so yeah, from here we go back up to Team Rocket, and it looks like the flame is getting ready to go out. Doug, you wanna go over Team Rocket up in the air?
Yeah, so they're huddled around this flame because it's down to a Charmander-sized flicker, and it's, oh Meowth, you better fix this because we're keeping this flame warm, and Meowth says, oh, you probably just broke it. You just gotta turn it up a little bit. And he fucking cranks the bottom of the torch, and we just get this poof, this big this fireball, which is dangerous because that's a damn
That's gas.
helium balloon, and so by all reality, the balloon should have exploded, and Meowth is like, oh, the flame is extinguished, and so are we, and they fall backwards, and Meowth has a nice little puff of smoke come out of his mouth, and then we get the who's that Pokemon, who is Sea King, and for the uninitiated, obviously that's the evolved form of a Goldeen. I don't believe we have been officially introduced to a Sea King in the show, except maybe in the background.
I believe we saw Seeking in the Misty episode with the mermaid. Did we not? Was Seeking
That's
not there?
that's a possibility. That
Yeah,
is a
they had to be in the
possibility.
background or something. Nobody
Yeah,
cares about speaking.
not at all. Goldeen is so much better than Seeking. Let's just see, see,
I mean,
see
Magikarp's better than both of them. Like,
for real. At least Magikarp turns into a freaking dragon, but Seeking looks like a ham.
yeah, he's just not very
Like a
exciting.
ham.
so,
Oh boy.
so all right, but we come back to our heroes, and Officer Jenny has finally done her job and called a tow truck, and the tow truck's taking the RV and her bike out of the hole. Uh, we find out that there's a backup torch, and Mr. Goodshow, that's his name, right? Goodshow?
Good
Okay.
show,
Yeah,
yeah.
good
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, such a
No, I
weird.
don't. I'm not opposed to Goodyear or Good Shit or whatever.
No, I'm just asking because it's such a
I
weird
forgot
name.
his name. I know it was good something. Also,
But
can I just point out where is the guy originally running? Did they just tell him to kind of like go home? Like, I mean, he had a job, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
sorry, bud, we're gonna give it to this kid here. Like, sorry for your accomplishments, but this kid, just asked nicely. Not
Or
even.
have a front row seat to the opening ceremony or something at least.
Yeah,
for real. I hope they gave him a front row seat. We're gonna see him in the audience, just in the background.
behind like one of the
Oh,
like behind the beam or something.
Yes.
it's that guy.
There is and I forget I need to do my digging. I always forget to do it, but in every single Pokemon special and Pokemon movie, there's a little girl and there's her mom. And the same little girl and her mom is in every single Pokemon movie and or special that they have done since the beginning, dating all the way back to Pokemon the first movie. And I feel like it has something to do with the writers. I saw someone point it out on Reddit, and they
I
just
mean,
I'm sorry.
what was it? It's probably a similar issue with like Ginny and Joy, like the only reason they all look the same is so they can cut on budget and not have to redesign every character. Like that's literally why they did it.
I know, but it's just weird because he had a screen cap of like all the specials and all the movies, and there they are, and she's always pulling her mother. I mean, they change clothes, but they she's always either in a funky looking hat, the little girl, or she's holding a balloon or something. But it's always the same mom and daughter. It's just there has to be something behind it. I gotta look that up, and I keep meaning to do it, but I always get sidetracked. But all right, um, but enough enough of that. Back in the episode, we find out there was a backup torch. They light the torch, and Ash is ready to go. And we find out that even though they lit the torch, the guy is able to take the lantern, and he still has the flame inside of this lantern. So he has a forever flame of Moltres, and Ash is,
Stuffed in his jacket.
I know, tucked away. You know, it would have been even better if he would have taken the lantern out of his beard. I seriously
Yeah,
thought that's where he was going with it.
Exactly.
So, all right. So, Grant, we are back up and running, and Ash is running to the Indigo Plateau. You wanna take this next scene?
well, they do that lovely thing of a montage with the theme song. And I will point out that they're going with the theme song, they're doing that second verse that you don't hear in the theme song.
Yes, and I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So, no one would ever know that unless they saw this episode. So, they're running and, they're passing the flame again because they have multiple torches to Misty, who, did not get any gym badges. I don't even know, like, I mean, she battled for like the gym badge, but I don't know at this point if she's a gym leader or if she's just in training. So what is her qualifications? I don't know. Because she's running, Ginny's following behind. She's just carrying Togepi in her hand there, just happy as can be. And then they go to Brock running, who again, what is his qualifications other than just being a gym leader who, walked away? So,
Yeah.
they finally make it.
Oh, sorry.
Well, yeah. Well, I say they finally make it to, the Pokemon League, like stadium.
How far away was this Pokemon stadium? Like, was this guy that was originally supposed to run this entire thing? Because they make it seem like it's taken forever and a day to get to
Yeah,
this
like,
Indigo Plateau.
well, he had to go through all the filler episodes.
It would have been nice. Now, thinking about that out loud, it would have been nice if, like, at the end of the episode, we would have just gotten this shot of this random guy just running with the torch, and it's not explained, and then he shows up here, and it's like, oh, this is here he is with the spirit of Moltres Flame. It's like, oh, that's what that guy's been doing for 4 episodes.
Just have him running in the background.
Yeah.
So, so from here, they finally run through the goal, and everyone's cheering. We have confetti, and if I'm Ash, I'm kind of pissed off because I just ran most of this thing. Misty ran just a little bit, and Brock got to go through the damn goal. I'd be mad. Like, wait a minute, hold up.
Ash has no leg to stand on in that because he's the one that ran after the original dude who's like, let me carry the torch.
For real.
He has
But
no leg to stand on.
so we go straight in, and they give the torch back to Mr. Santa Claus, Mr. Goodshow, and he's like, "I hope you guys will be at the ceremony tomorrow." Like, no shit. I mean,
No, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go back home. Ash needs a change of underwear. No, of course they're gonna stay.
So we go straight in, and now it's dawn, and they're in the Pokemon village, and all the Pokemon trainers are sitting there conversing with each other, and it looks like some people are going over their plans about the competition. And then here comes Ash, and he's like, eh, oh, and then we hear a voice off in the distance, and I'm gonna have you go over this, Doug. Because who returns? None other than my favorite character in this show so far.
Yeah, so Ash is coming in and he's, trying to take it all in. And immediately, like I think he's barely set both feet into the village. And I got like big like Olympic vibes because they're talking about, oh, this is the Pokemon League Championship Village. It's like this is where all the athletes, you know, communicate and all come together. It's like just like the Olympic Village. Um, and we hear this voice kind of off screen say, "Oh, late as usual, huh, Ash?" And we know immediately that it's Gary, and we turn around and Gary's just sitting at a table, chilling, drinking a cappuccino with his entourage of girls behind him doing the cheers. And
Do we ever find? I mean, I've seen a lot of these episodes, but why were these girls following him this entire time? Like this whole entourage of women. Like, do we ever find
Um,
out who these girls were?
I mean, he's the grandson of Professor Oak, who I guess is a celebrity in this world. So maybe they're just trying to get like some like celebrity bucks. Yeah,
Yeah, that
I
that
don't
they're trying to get something, all right. But
know.
Gary, he is old. We did establish he is older than Ash, right? Or is he
Oh, for
10?
sure.
He's not 10 like Ash. He got up into the Pokemon on his Pokemon journey a little later, correct? Right, Doug? I mean,
I,
I feel like Gary's older than 10.
if he's not 10, he's like 11,
Okay.
And he's
and
studied in school.
he's apparently studied. Um, so basically, Gary's taking shots. They do Gary. He's the best. He's gonna beat you like the rest. Um, basically, Gary implies that he's only going to be able. Gary says, "Oh, I hope tomorrow's your lucky day because that's the only way you're going to beat anybody is with luck." And Ash gets so mad. Pikachu falls off his shoulder. He says, You don't know nothing about what you're talking about. I don't need luck. I'm gonna win because I'm a great trainer." And Gary's like, "Yeah, but I bet you haven't studied shit." And he's right. And
I bet you
and
haven't trained either, Ash.
Ash is like, "Says who?" And Gary's like, "You basically need to study your competition before you go." It's like
He's not wrong.
he's not wrong, and I mean, it's so hard to like look at Gary how we're supposed to look at Gary, like, oh, Gary's a jerk. No, Gary's right.
Yeah.
That is why I love Gary because Gary's always spitting facts at Ash, and Ash is just he's not mature enough to take the punches to the face. I mean, if he would just do what he's supposed to do, Gary wouldn't pick on him as much. I mean, probably not as much. I'm sure he would still pick on him, but at the same time, I mean, Gary's walking away from this whole thing, and he throws that one last jab at Ash, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna leave because if I stay any longer, I might catch loseritis and miss the whole competition. And that was his last KO blow before just walking away. And that line stuck with Ash. Grant?
Yeah, I mean, loseritis sounds contagious. So
So, all right. And then, all right. So it is now nighttime, everyone. And where it seems like every Pokemon, they must have a million of these buildings. So I'm kind of wondering how many of these little makeshift buildings or homes that they had, because there was a lot of people there. But
well, considering this is like the Pokemon League, they obviously have like probably like timeshares, and it's probably sponsored by the Pokemon League to supply like decent, staying quarters for these like
Like
participants.
when you rent out a block of rooms for a wedding.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
or like the Olympics,
Oh,
something like that.
true. I didn't even think of that. I was like, there has to be like a million of these homes over here. But
I'm sure these hotels are profiting like very well though. They make a fortune around this time of year though.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah,
From all the traffic that they're about to generate.
yeah.
But Ash is laying down. We find out that there's bunk beds. So Pikachu has its own bunk. Brock is on the top bunk with Misty underneath, and Togepi is sleeping, but Ash cannot sleep, which is probably another mistake on his part because you need all the rest you can get. I mean, you already haven't trained. You at least need some type of sleep. I mean, you don't want to miss another beat. But he's replaying in his head, oh, Pikachu doesn't have its own bunk, so there's an empty bunk above Ash. So he's replaying the moment that he saw Gary, and Gary said, "If I stay any longer, I'm gonna catch loseritis." And that line has been bugging Ash to its core, and he's like, "You know what? See ya. They're both wrong. I'm gonna win that competition." No, you're not. But Doug, you wanna take this next part?
So he gets dressed, he walks out of the room, and we get this weird line from Misty, who cracks her one eye open when she hears the door click when Ash walks out and goes, "I think he's scared." Like what? Why?
Well, I mean,
I mean,
she's not wrong.
but again, like, and I understand the show's for kids, and but they might not understand subtext, but whatever. That was frustrating as a 32-year-old, is all I'm saying. Um, and then so we see Mr. Goodshow is kind of surveying the scene of the stadium. He's kind of taking it all in. You got the empty battle floor, you got the big jumbotron. He's looking and he's just kind of taking it all in, and he's very content. And then he looks down one of the entrance tunnels. You see Ash, and Ash is completely in his own head. Says,
Complete.
what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not ready? And you can tell that he's getting emotional because his eyes are starting to shine, and he's like, you know what? And then we get a brief bit from Good Show saying, well, he's got the spirit, and he says, you know what? I'll win as long as I do the very best I can, which is a very fine message indeed. Then we get a shot of the moon over the big bowl at the top of the stadium. And then we see a bunch of Pidgeys released from a ball. And we got fireworks because we're ready for the opening ceremonies.
And what a ceremony it is. Every the stadium is completely packed and everyone is awaiting all the competitors for the Pokemon League. And there they are. There's Brock, there's Good Show, there's Misty and Togepi. They're sitting in the audience and they're all excited to watch the Pokemon League. And here come all of the competitors. So the competitors are coming in from the East Wing and the West Wing, and they're all surrounding. And there's one member that is holding the flame. And Misty's like, man, this is exciting. And Misty's like, I can't, or no, Brock's like, I can't wait to see Ash. And then we get a close up look of Ash because Misty's like, oh, there he is.
He looks like Charlie Brown about to kick the football.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this time.
He's confident, but you can tell he's nervous at the same time. And then Gary's just walking in like, oh, just another goddamn Saturday.
He's like, I'm about to go in here and I'm about to win this whole thing. And and then we fast forward and all the trainers are standing side by side. And here comes the torch runner, and they've vigorously given it to this nice young lad, and she's running up, and he's like,
Wait a minute. You call ladies lads?
Alas.
Lass, my bad. My bad. lass, this nice young girl. So
Oh my goodness, that's too funny. I'm sorry.
so we come to find out that the flame itself is actually already lit on the inside of the bowl. It already has a small flame from what it looks like on here, but she's going up there to complete the flame. So she's running up the stairs, and then she gets stopped by Jesse and James. And I would say these two mysterious people, but I mean they wasn't even trying to hide their identity in this.
I mean,
So
where's the security on this place?
I
I'm saying.
I know.
Like, I mean, they just kind of waltz in there, like,
Their,
especially up in that. Like, I mean, clearly it's important.
their security is as tight as 2021 security for any sports event this year, with all these people running up onto the field, running up and tackling wrestlers, and just it's just
Falling over railings. I mean, I know that has nothing to do with security, more than stadium construction, but still.
so she's running up, and the announcer is like, "Oh, she's being stopped by some people in some togas, and it looks like there's about to be a handoff that we wasn't told about."
that we had no knowledge of, but we're just gonna go with it because they look official.
and and Jesse's like, "I'll take that little torch," and Ash comes barreling up these steps. I want to know how fast. Like Ash can be fast when he wants to, but he was all the way in the back. Like, did
Meanwhile,
nobody?
he also had to like jump up the stadium. Like, it's not like there's a staircase there. He had to like climb pretty heavily and then get to the second floor, which is a back way
For real.
from the balcony. Like,
Yeah.
But he comes running up because he notices Jesse and James. He's like, "Don't give him the flame." And Jesse snatches it, and she's like, "You're too late, twerp." Ha ha ha. And we're about to get into a really bad part in this episode. So okay, well, I'll say it when we get there because I have a line that I'm about to say that would not play out today at all.
Oh boy.
So Jesse's like, "There's no reason to get all fired up," and she's like, "We got the torch now." And Ash is like, "We'll see about that." And he runs in. James throws out Wheezing, and Wheezing does his smog attack. And it's like, "Bleh." And Ash is like, "Oh my gosh, I can't." And he starts to cough. And Jesse's like, "If you thought stealing this flame was hot, wait until you see what else we've got." And she full blown takes the flame, puts it inside of the bowl. The bowl itself gets the big flame that it's supposed to have. And then they go freaking Power Rangers on us and bring out this big old grasshopper, which has no relevance to this episode at all, other than
No.
it having a
no.
big old bowl on the top of it. So Team Rocket has this
And
has this
why
grass
a grasshopper? There's not even a grasshopper Pokemon.
at
I
this
mean,
time.
this whole scene, like again, Giovanni's probably watching this on TV, going, "What the hell?" Like,
he's already
like
crushed
he,
his second
he,
cup of
he
coffee.
he's probably in like Vegas gambling, and now he can't even win because it's rigged. So he's already getting kicked out of the casinos.
No. You probably just buy the casino.
True.
But so we're getting up to this scene, and I was dumbfounded when I rewatched this that it was put into a kids anime or cartoon outside of that. But I forget that the 90s were completely different than what TV is today. And
Back in my day.
I know back in my day, we we used to watch cartoons where they would take the hammer and beat each other with it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the grasshopper now has the big old flame, and it's taken the bowl and placed it on its back. And Ash runs up, and he's like, "I'm gonna stop you, Team Rocket." And from here, we literally get the grasshopper jumping down to the ground. It's chasing all the Pokemon League trainers out of the way. Pikachu tries to use its Thunderbolt attack, which does nothing because they Team Rocket was actually smart enough to get something that would not get electrocuted or blow up since they have a flame on them.
They've been fucked up so many times.
Well,
Gary and the other trainers, they're just like, you know what? We don't need this. Like, they don't help at all.
for real, where are the rest of the trainers
Like, there's literally all 8 badges. Like, you think they'd have some sort of like, you know what? We don't want to waste our time this entire year collecting badges to go, you know what? We should just go home.
So, all right, and here's the scene. So Team Rocket's laughing at Ash, and they're like, "Ha ha ha! We made our machine shockproof. How stupid do you think that we would be to not have it be shockproof?" So, of course, here comes Ash to send out Bulbasaur with a grasshopper that has a flame on top. So the second time a freaking grass Pokemon is being used improperly, everybody. And the freaking grasshopper leans forward and just burns the flames. And I don't think that's the way flames work when they're in a bowl, but we're just gonna roll with the punches here. And they block Ash and they block him up against a wall. And Misty's like, Ash is trapped. And Brock is like, oh, Ash, get out of there. He's like, no, I'm gonna save everybody here. I'm not running away at all. And Team Rocket literally tilts the bowl over and tries to kill Ash.
It's
I was
straight up attempted murder there.
He's dead.
like, all right, and I'm gonna pass this over to you, Grant, because I figured you probably have something to say about this. But they literally tried to kill this little boy.
Yeah, like they straight up like torched the kid. Like they had in their head like whole like knowledge that they were going to kill this child and his Pikachu. Like in the middle of a stadium, talk about witnesses, like televised for probably the entire, region. They were going to kill this child. Like, and Giovanni again is not too happy about this.
I'm sure he's
So,
furious.
but of course the flame, is Moltres' flame. It doesn't hurt Ash at all. And Ash is like, hey, this is pretty cool. We're not dead, And Team Rocket's like, well, the kid should be burnt to a crisp. What happened? And here comes, Moltres
Out of nowhere.
out of nowhere.
Well, out of the flame. I mean, it is his flame. I mean, let's not pretend like they pulled that completely out of their ass.
Yeah.
They Harry Pottered this whole thing. They had freaking Moltres come out of the ashes of its own flame, which I didn't think was an actual thing. But again, let's just roll with the punches. It's a kids cartoon.
It's a kids show. There's a minute left in the episode. If we start pulling at strings, we'll be
Doug, do you wanna almost end this episode?
So yeah, Good Show has a good line about Moltres returning in a beautiful blaze of glory. So the whole stadium can see it. It's not just in Ash's head. Moltres reforms and attacks the grasshopper and kind of sideswipes it and completely blows it up. The grasshopper explodes. Team Rocket goes.
It's shock resistant, not flame resistant,
and especially magic flames. The bowl lands in the rubble, basically where it would be. The Moltres flame flies into the bowl.
And then flies out.
Then flies out, and then basically we're resuming as if the last 10 minutes hadn't happened. Good Show is down there, greeting the competitors. The stadium is a special place. Those who love Pokemon to go and compete, and talk about the flame of Moltres keeping the spirits alive, and it's a big rah rah speech. Gets some cheers and applause. Ash and Misty are looking on from the stands. Trainers are looking down, and Ash is understandably a little teary eyed, considering that he basically saved the whole facility, the whole festivities, while everybody else basically stood around and did nothing. Um, and we get the narrator, who, as in true form, is moving too fast for me to clock.
Well, Ash basically looks right over at Pikachu and just goes, Pikachu, we've made it to the Pokemon League. And they kind of pan up. And I mean, this this in a way didn't really, I mean, I get the whole to be continued is Pokemon's thing, and it's always going to be to be continued at the end of the episode. But this was a nice, like, they could have put an ending point here and just started up afresh with a brand new episode, and no one would blink an eye. But this was a nice ending to an episode. Like it was kind of fast at the very ending. I mean, going from that battle straight to the flame being lit, and then the Mr. Good Show giving a speech, and then it's the end. That's it. The next episode is the start of battling. I mean, we're here now.
I mean, put it in a little bit of perspective. Is it a good episode, or are you just happy that we're like officially done with the filler?
You know,
for now.
for now, yeah, we
Yeah,
have
true, very.
we have a lot of fillers coming up. Let me tell you, bro.
Like, ooh, man.
So, all right. Well, I'll give you my perspective in just a second. Doug. I'm going to ask you real quick because you're Dougometer. What would you give this episode? Because I think me and you might be on two different pages when it comes to this episode of the Pokemon League.
I mean, it's a 3. I mean, I'm still in 3 range. I mean, you could say, oh, you're in the Pokemon League, and yes, you are Pokemon League. You're in the village. You're in the stadium, but this is still you. The rubber doesn't meet the road until the next episode. We're actually going to get some battles, and we're going to get some stakes, and we're going to. I mean, and you can say, oh, stakes. He literally saved the whole Pokemon League. Yes, but it was inevitable. The Team Rocket was going to stick their nose in. At you know rhetorically the finish line. And he was going to. I mean, the flame being magic and not hurting Ash or Bulbasaur or Pikachu is kind of ridiculous, if
Well,
not completely ridiculous.
well, you find out later on. Moltres, just like Ponyta. Remember Ponyta when it was going into Lapras, or I mean not Lapras, into Rapidash, it controls its own temperature. So if it doesn't want to hurt you with its flame, it won't. And that's kind of how Moltres is as well.
Yeah, but there's a fuck. He was in a wall of fire. There was nothing around him but fire.
In a
Moltres,
wall.
yeah,
You know,
had a
there's a
wall.
difference. There's a difference between touching Rapidash's mane and getting completely bathed in fire.
By a
Well,
legendary Pokemon, nonetheless. Very powerful.
very powerful, and the audience was right behind him as well. Let's throw that in there too. Brock and Misty were talking in talking distance to Ash. So
Oh yeah, Misty can shout pretty loud. Like she's got those vocal cords.
she does. Grant, let me ask you. I want to know on a scale from 1 to 5, what do you give this episode?
I mean, it could have been better. I mean, I like Team Rocket a lot, but like this episode, they really just dropped the ball with Team Rocket. I feel they could have done something else, but they did what they did. So I mean, I guess three's fine. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah, I'll stick with the 3 as well. I think we're all on the same page. I did like this episode. I you know I'm kind of jaded a little bit because watching some of these black and white episodes and seeing how cool they can actually make Team Rocket. Yeah, just like you said, Grant, they could have easily have made Team Rocket such badasses in this episode instead of, oh, I got the torch. No, I don't got the torch. Oh, I got the torch again. Oh, no, I don't got the torch again. Okay, here's
Yeah.
our last go, and I got the torch for the third time, and now I got a grasshopper.
I
That
mean, you'll even notice, like, I don't think they liked it either, like the producers, because if you watch the other competitions for the next couple generations, they don't do this anymore. It's always like Team Rocket is kind of just they set up like shop and just start having like their own little side story that had nothing to do with Ash, which is a lot more preferred
yes,
because that's not like distracting or interfering with the competition. So like I don't think the producers even particularly enjoyed that.
I don't think so either. So, all right. It is that part of the episode, everybody. I have a Pokemon pack here in my hand. I have a Sword and Shield Fusion Strike pack. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this open. Let me fight with this live on the air. There we go. All right. I've become a pro at this. There we go. All right. And I have a white card. So a white card with a fusion strike pack is considered a dud pack. So we'll see what I get. This time I'm gonna change it up a little bit. Grant, I'm going to ask you what energy am I looking at?
I'm gonna say a water.
Water? Ah, it is a psychic energy. So I
Ah,
I have a
To be fair, I would have said fire, so I would have got that wrong as well.
all right. Let's see. I have a psychic energy. I have a crocodile. I have an excadrill. I have a double and an aracuda. I think I pronounced that right. An aracuda. Snubble. A geodude. A sizzlepede. A klefki. My reverse hollow is a phalanx. And my rare is a non-hollow Galarian Cursor. So yes, a dud pack indeed. Grant, do you play the Pokemon trading card game by chance?
no.
Oh, you do not. All right.
I mean, I had them back in the day, but just it's just not.
It's
I don't
not
know. I
the
got all the
same.
games. Yeah. Once
Uh,
you actually like learn the rules, it's like the game's not like you got to either be super into it or not at all.
yes. You are 100% right. My son is very into it. He plays these games. He gets so mad at me when I go and I post these codes on social media or anything cuz he's like, "Why didn't you just give it to me?" I was like, "Boy, you got so many codes upstairs to use for the Pokemon game." But all right, but that was this week's episode. So I want to throw it over to you, Grant. I want to thank you for coming up onto the show. Do you have anything that you would like to say, or any plugs, or anything, any final words before we tune out on this episode?
Not really. I just it's been fun. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. Keep up the good work.
Thank
Thank you
you,
very much.
Yeah.
thank you. All
Yeah.
right, Doug, do you have any final words for this week?
Yeah. Once again, thank you, Grant, for being a Patreon, and this was a fun conversation, a fun episode to do. Um, always have more fun reviewing these episodes. Even if I'm just kind of watching. Initially, when I watch them kind of out the corner of my eye, but reviewing them is always great, and having a guest on is just it adds another layer to the awesome experience because you're getting another perspective, and somebody else picks up on a joke that you miss, and that's always that's always awesome. And I don't want to end the show on a downer, but I feel like I'm obligated to do it. So just really quickly, because
What's
this
up?
is just kind of happening within the last half hour. Rest in peace to Bob Saget.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't even
really?
hear about that. Really?
Yeah,
I
Oh,
oddly just watched the roast of Bob Saget today. Like,
wow. Okay. Yeah, rest in peace,
yeah,
Bob Saget.
yeah, he was only 65.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look this up off the air, but man, okay. Man,
But just the last what was it? The last couple days of 2021, you took out
Betty White.
Betty White,
America's
John
grandma
Madden.
Betty White, John Madden, and now you take out America's dad and Bob Saget. It's like, come on.
So, all right. Well, thank you. Um, I'm. It's not ending it on a downer. May he rest in peace. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say that. Also, I would like to also make note that Grant, you are the first guest in a month of guests that we are having on the show. Next week, don't make sure everyone download next week's episode as well, because Mr. Carl Dutton, the creator of X-Men the audio series and Power Rangers the audio series, will be returning to the podcast to do a Pokemon League episode as well. So just make sure that you listen to next week's episode. If you're on the free feed and you're listening to this on the Patreon, go ahead and go on the Patreon because it's already there. So you can go ahead and listen to that episode right now. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. I'll let you say goodbye, Grant, to our audience.
Uh, Goodbye. Have a good day.
All right, say goodbye, Doug.
Bye, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling all of you, don't miss next week's episode. And thank you again, Grant, for coming on this week's episode. And have a good night, everybody, and we will see you next week.